So UFC Fight Night Perth, Reyes versus Ulberg was this weekend. And so I got the result, but to do my reaction, breakdown, and commentary on the results. Let's get into it. Now, to start by addressing the opener of Loma Lokbunki. I don't know why I always mess up her name like that, but the beginning opener of Loma Lokbunmi versus Alexia Tanara. For my picks earlier, I had Tanara winning, which she did. She basically did as I would have expected her to do. She kind of was just a little bit too overwhelming. She just had a little bit too much of everything. Tanara basically, I think Tanara is really a pretty good prospect right now, especially for the women's strawweight division. Like she really kind of has that swagger about her. She has that style. She's fast. She's skilled, and she actually has great instincts. She plays around a lot, kind of similar to a Jean Silva, but she's pretty aware. She's pretty aware of what's going on in there, and she isn't really, despite how much she goofs around and jokes around, she doesn't just sacrifice that for the win. She basically spent this entire round mixing the martial arts, like actually mixing the martial arts, grappling in order to slow the fight down, mixing the striking, keeping it gritty, kind of as I suspected, and then basically just use that to like secure her victory, clinch decision in the end. Great win for her. Definitely look forward to see how her fights. Let me make this zoom to fill a little bit more. That's better. But yeah, so Tanara basically secured that by winning every aspect of the game and inching it out. So congrats to her. Really looking forward to her future prospects. Next fight, this listen guys, I did great on picks tonight. I only got like two fights wrong from the entire card, and this is the first of them. I had Alicia Ellison winning, which I already admitted that wasn't too well versed in either fighter at that point in time, but I was leaning towards Alicia Ellison a little bit more. I think that he would have been the better fighter. But what I kind of overestimate, or more accurately, I underestimated just the massive difference in bodies as far as size. Brandon Parika, what is with me and names today? But Brando Parika basically just dwarfed Alicia Ellison, just massively bigger, massively stronger. He made him a lot smaller. He made him look like Alicia Ellison was in the wrong weight class. Honestly, I think that he probably should consider going down to light heavyweight. I think his movement and body type would actually fit a lot better there. As for Brando Perkic, impressive performance. He was very patient in this matchup. He did a great job as far as how he matched, not just with the pacing. Like he didn't get too ahead of himself when he was winning. Like once he started having those big moments, when he started having those big moments, he made sure that he's remained patient, got that big shot, and then really found that finish in the first round. Over really, really dominant performance. I'd like to see him go against the other higher level contenders. You know, this is the heavyweight class, so he basically is already top 15 level just based off that performance so far. However, I'd like to see how he matches up. I wouldn't. I'd say don't give him Taliesin Teixeira, for example. Don't give him another contender because we need new blood with the heavyweight division. I'd say build them separately. I'd probably say Brando Perkic, put him put him against like an intro level. Let him get somebody like like one of the let, let him get one of the uh, what do they call again, the ones that just pulled out again. Give him somebody like let him get one of the Tafa brothers. Hopefully they don't pull out in that matchup. But I'd like to see Brando Perkic versus one of the Tafa brothers. they're basically on their way out. Well, as at least Justin Tafa. Let's see how that matchup goes. At least Justin Tafa is with his inactivity and kind of recent rut. So I'd want to see how Brando Perkins matches up against like a Tafa, and then we can start. All right, then let's start building him against actual ranked competition. As for Alicia Ellison, I think it would be in his best interest to basically just go down a weight class and really put in that work and build himself, make a campaign down. I think he'd do much better. I think his size would match up much better. I think overall he has the potential to actually be a lot more successful there. Kind of take a page of the Cannoneers. With this next one, Michelle Montague, which is another fight that I ended up having a wrong pick for. I think my wrong picks end here. But Michelle Montague, I thought Luana Carolina would have been a little bit too much for her. I just thought the experience would have been too much. Honestly, I think stylistically the striking would have done it. I understand that Montague is good and she has good grappling speed. I know she has good grappling. I know she has good capabilities. I know that overall that Montague would have probably been a tall task, but I just thought Carolina was just a little bit better everywhere. Just edge it out, especially with her Muay Thai and her striking. I thought that she kind of would have just had that the flow of the fight controlled, but I didn't really expect and anticipate this level of pace coming from Montague. She basically just flooded her, overwhelmed her, and just shut her down, didn't give her any room or any possibility of kind of breaking out. And she just sealed the deal with that. So, very impressive performance. Another prospect, this time from the women's bantamweight. It's really good to finally get some good women's prospects, some newer women's prospects coming in. I really want to see how Montague does in her future fights. But excellent debut. Now, getting back onto the right side of history, as far as my picks, we have Kobe Thickness. I'm not quite sure what was going on, but his footwork looked really compromised this entire fight. And to be transparent, even though Thickness was my pick, I personally thought that he lost that. I still have to rewatch that because by the end of it, I thought Musasa was the one who actually had done more. But overall, though, I do think Musasa kind of missed some opportunities in this performance. Like Thickness was pretty vulnerable on the feet. Musasa was kind of just steamrolling him, overwhelming him. Every time he went forward, Thickness kind of buckled. Kind of looked a bit like how Pereira looked in his first matchup against Adesanya in the UFC. In that fifth round, when he kind of just walked forward, marched him down, and just overwhelmed him. Musasa was kind of doing that the whole fight in the striking. But then once Thickness managed to get into the grappling arena, he just overwhelmed him. He was much better. He was much more experienced. He was much more comfortable. Overall, you could tell who was in whose arena, who really dominated that aspect, and the gap was just so huge when it came to the grappling. The striking was a huge gap because of how much Musasa was overwhelming Thickness, but at the very least, Thickness could still fight back. Whereas with the grappling, it just felt as if Musasa was a fish out of water. Like that's a really huge hole in his game, and the way how Thickness basically just, despite the faulty footwork and being susceptible to the leg kicks and getting just overwhelmed and kind of broken down in the striking, and how just simply shifting it to grappling in the first and third, almost getting that finish in the first. I definitely would say that Musasa should definitely do some targeted training in the grappling arena. Moving on to our next one, we have Jamie Mularkey. I thought Mularkey just was a little bit better or a little bit more likely to pull this one out against Bedoya. And honestly, that kind of was what it was. Mularkey was basically just, honestly, just a little bit better in when it came to the grappling. And then that little bit just added up over time after constant attempts and constant efforts. And eventually he just kind of broke down Bedoya more and more and more over time. So it's like he basically secured that unanimous decision. It was, at least to me, it was very apparent that Bedoya was the superior striker. Whenever they had those clashes and those exchanges, Bedoya and was allowed to get comfortable. You could see the difference. Mularkey never looked comfortable, like properly or safe, whenever those exchanges went on for too long. And Bedoya started finding his timing and his range, but that's where the MMA comes in. There's where it becomes mixed martial arts. Mularkey never really allowed him to find his comfortability, never allowed him to settle down too much. Anytime when he felt as if he could start reading him, he'd give him constant takedowns to think about, constantly change the pace of the fight, kept it gritty, kept him on the foot, kept him feeling uncomfortable, kept him outside of his realm of comfortability. And he really managed to take advantage of that and kind of just clinch that and secure it in the end. So excellent performance by Mularkey, like very great strategic aspect, excellent strategic decision. So very good execution of it. So I was wrong. This is the last one, last pick I got wrong. So three picks are wrong. Cam Roston. I'd said it in my video that I wasn't a part of the Cam Roston train. I wasn't. I felt as if it was a little bit too early for him. I felt as if he had a little bit more things to look at. I think that this was a really good statement performance. He basically just overwhelmed Petrovsky. Went in there to make a statement, and the statement he did, he definitely did make. Kind of got him out of there within the first. Made it look simple, made it look easy. Didn't give him any chance to even adjust to anything. Definitely saw some sluggishness in Petrovsky in the aspect of he was slow to adapt, he was slow to recognize the game plan. Especially from a fighter that as experienced as him, I would expect a little bit more. However, it's like perhaps when you work with that city kickboxing team that Roaston is a part of, like working with people like Adesanya and Ulberg, having that camp, perhaps they were just a lot more prepared than even I was giving him credit for. But Roaston came in there, statement performance, and made it quick, made it easy, made it simple, made it clean. Moving on to Navajo Sterling versus Rodolfo Balato. This was a firefight as I expected it to be. I expected a finish from Navajo Sterling, but he still got the win. I'll definitely say that Balato's performance was significantly better than I was expecting of him. You can tell that he definitely fought with this desperation, so to speak. Bellato was very obviously the inferior striker, technical wise, still, but it felt like he was just taking everything. He felt so durable this fight. He felt so relentless. He kept coming. He never got pushed back for too long. Especially by that third round, you could saw that he was really wearing and overwhelming Navajo. Like he was really building more and more. Um, you could definitely see, probably tell that Bellato was trying to set off a statement performance in comparison, and especially to kind of rectify that last outing of his. Probably really trying to wash that away. So, well, definitely can see that mentality. So it's good to see that from a fighter of not willing to just go out on a sour taste. Well, excellent fight. One of my personal favorite fights of the night. It was really, really good to see. Navajo Sterling, I still need to see more from him. I think he's good. I think he's really good. I think he has a lot of potential. I don't think he's anything special. Like, I don't think he's anything super special, to be more specific. Everybody in UFC is something special. But Navajo, I don't see anything. The hype that surrounds him, kind of people saying, like, future champ, I don't see future champ from him. Especially in the light heavyweight, I don't even know if I can comfortably put Navajo to compete against anyone in the top 10 right now. So in the current light heavyweight division. So it's a bit difficult for me to kind of see the level of hype and love they're giving this guy. He's good. Once again, very good, very, very efficient. But to even look at the striking counts for somebody who was throwing over 100 strikes versus Rodolfo's 62, he had a lower striking accuracy total strike percentage in comparison to Bellato for somebody who was very evidently the more technical striker, and was the one who was getting taken down more. Yeah, he got out of them fairly easily. He kept moving, but even when you look at this comparison, landed overwhelmingly more significant strikes. So that's to show the difference in his efficiency versus somebody like Bellato's. But a lot of us thought this should have been an easy fight for Navajo Sterling. Like I wouldn't have been. I was more so expecting him to like get him out of here probably within first 2 rounds or so. But to see that him get real trouble from Bellato within this, while yeah, it's good to see adversity, it also is that stake of really tempering people's expectations. So I know that it might be a lot of pressure when there's this much on him, especially as an undefeated fighter and same team, Dizzy and all of that. And then you have Ulberg there as well. So like people expect you to be like the next guy, but I don't I personally don't see that level of competence and performance from him as yet. So I would personally I would personally ease off with a lot of those accusations. I'd ease off a bit on a lot of those expectations. I just don't think he's all that as yet. He's decent. He's decent. He's good, but he's not. He's good. He's good by the regular contenders' definition. But when I compare him to like the level of how people speak about this guy, like future champion, all this stuff, I think it's that we should temper the expectations a bit. That is not yet the level that he has proven himself to be. Um, but that does it as far as the prelims. God, Butterfingers. But that does it as far as the prelims are concerned. Well, moving on to the main card, the main event. Where I had a clean sweep. Call me Mystic Core. But start off, we have Tim Nolan versus Charlie Campbell. This was probably my second favorite fight of the night. Tim Nolan, it was short. It was only a round, but this was a firefight. It had everything. It had back and forth. It had strategy. It had adjustment. It had skill, speed, power. It had everything. So initially, I had Tim Nolan as my pick for this one. Obviously, I thought that as I said in my previous prediction video, it's not that I thought Charlie Campbell was bad, and I think he proved this. I thought Charlie Campbell was very good. I think Charlie Campbell had all the aspects that he could have won. I just thought Tim Nolan was a little bit better, and I think he proved this. I think in this matchup and when how the fight played out, Charlie Campbell was kind of overwhelming Nolan initially, coming forward, just landing more strikes, making more contact, having bigger impacts, and he was really marching him down. But Nolan just slightly adjusted here and there, slightly offset the power, did just enough to not get finished, and then did just enough to still constantly be dangerous. And once he got the first opportunity he got, he made the most of it, took advantage of it, and just sealed the deal, and just ended up getting that finish. I think this was an excellent performance from Nolan. I think it showed that he is still pretty susceptible, though. So I definitely think that Nolan should take a little bit of time, rest, recoup before he starts getting back in there for his next matchup, which is what he said he wants to do anyways. Though he said he wants to take the Christmas off and stuff, and I think that definitely is a smart decision. Let him relax before and recenter himself and replan and strategize before he comes back in there. Before he gets back in there, as with harder competition, it's going to be a harder challenge. And while I think he did a excellent performance, or I think he did a great performance against Charlie Campbell. I think it also exposed a couple of his weaknesses that he should definitely try to work on recently. For this one, I want to say a big fat "I told you so" to all of y'all. Who, because I know when I said it in my prediction video that I got Neil Magny. I know a lot of people probably doubted me as the underdog, but as I said it then, and I'll say it again. I think it takes a special type of person. You got to be a certain type of good to beat Neil Magny. I don't care how crazy that might sound to some of y'all. Neil Magny is way past his prime, not who he once was. However, he is an excellent gatekeeper for the division. Not just anybody can beat Neil Magny. And as I said, I didn't think Jake Matthews was one of the people that could have buried. I don't care how good he looked, how great his submission is and his grappling is. You got to be a certain type of prospect to beat Neil Magny, and I don't think that was Jake Matthews. Neil Magny has definitely been a bit of a prospect killer within the division for some time now. The last two prospects that got past him ended up fighting each other in Protest versus Gary. We've seen Magny constantly turn down prospect after prospect, layup fight after layup fight where he's supposed to be the layup, but he's really the real testing of whether or not you're ready for this level of competition. Magny is definitely, even though he's outside of the top 15 right now, he definitely can still be considered the bar as what determines whether or not you're actually indeed ready for the top 15 of that division. I think you got to beat Magny, then you're ready for a top 15 fight. Like, that's it. And I just didn't see Matthews being one of the people who were able to do it. Magny is too experienced, he's too gritty, he's too strategic. Like, he was down the whole fight. That first, especially after that first round with that freak stoppage that dumb ref tried to do, like, and then try to play it off afterwards, whatever. But that was goofy. But when you look at Magny's entire career, he's always been the quote unquote crafty vet. He's always been capable, always been ready to put that work in. He's always been the one who's capable of making those adjustments throughout the fight, prospect or not prospect. And he's very good at recognizing, and executing the openings when they arrive. So unless you are a legitimate prospect, Magny still ain't that far past his prime that just any and everybody can walk past and not run through him. Magny got the finish after being down the whole fight in the third. If that doesn't show you that the Unk still got it between him and Michael Johnson, then I don't know what will. But great performance from Neil Magny. Tough luck, Jake Matthews. Here we got my boy Jack Jenkins versus Ramon Taveras. I had Jack Jenkins in this one. As I said before, even though I know that he's the one who was coming off the loss, even though I understand that, well, especially since Taveras came in overweight, especially since I know the mentality and everything with Jack Jenkins, I still thought Jenkins was the one who would have got and clinched this one. And Jenkins did it. Jenkins fought a full fight, a complete fight, mixed in. He kept him at bay with good strikes. He kept it gritty when he needed. He mixed in the clinch work and grappling as necessary. He kept moving. He didn't make anything get too stationary. Got a little bit lackadaisical in that third round when he saw that he was winding down, but that's also partially because he was just trying to secure the win and he wasn't trying to put himself and place himself in a situation where he ended up being liable or for getting knocked out, especially when Taveras started becoming more aggressive. Taveras was pressuring the entire fight, but in that third round, he definitely tried to up the aggression and you could tell Jenkins was kind of trying to rest on his laurels a bit. But once again, when you're in a rut, sometimes you just need to secure that dub first, and then you can go back to taking more riskier situations. Overall, it was a pretty good fight. There was a couple hairy moments where for Jenkins, but he really had some moments with Tavares. So had him stumbling a couple times. Really could have. Honestly, if he really pushed it, he probably could have gotten that finish. But especially when you've been in a rut, you don't. There's no need to take unnecessary risk of that caliber. Jenkins came in, secured that decision victory, and just made it look like nice, clean work. So another pick, decision win for Jack Jenkins. We got the co-main. We got Jimmy Crew versus Ivan Urslan. I said it again. I had Crew in this one. I thought Crew was just better. I just thought Crew was better everywhere. Urslan looked better in the striking, to be honest. Urslan kind of just a little. It was just drawing a bigger and bigger gap. I think if Urslan was a little bit more patient and aware of like the type of opponent he was fighting and Crew's how do I say, Crude's superiority in the grappling department and especially the submission game, not just positional, but really execution of the finishing. I think if Urslan was a bit more aware of that, would have avoided it altogether and then kind of rely more on forcing a striking game. I think that would have really changed a lot for him. However, Crude basically went in there, Crute did his thing. Crute was getting overwhelmed, but Crute made it a grappling match. And the moment he went to a grappling match, he closed the show. So Crute ended up securing that finish. First chance he got, made it look quick. I ain't gonna say it made it look easy, because it did look a little bit hairy, but made it look simple. Like, got him out of there, and that's all she wrote. Now for the final fight and the one we've all been waiting for. Carlos Ulberg versus Dominic Reyes. I had Ulberg. I wanted Reyes to win. I really wish Reyes did win just because of the story aspect of it. And the full circle moment would have been for him to get back to this point. It would have been incredible to see it. I would honestly think that Reyes would have got iced by both Pereira and by Ankalaev, to be perfectly honest. However, I think just him making it to the opportunity would have been an excellent and phenomenal story to tell. But him making it in here against Ulberg, to be blunt, Ulberg, who was my pick, who I expected to win because just the footwork and the skill and the distance management, Ulberg won more dominantly than even I expected. Ulberg made it look simple, made it look easy, made it look no problem. Reyes looked intimidated the entire fight. I'm not quite sure what was going on mentally, if anything was going on mentally with him, but he was backing up the whole fight. He wasn't properly managing distance. Footwork was looking a little flat. Wasn't really landing anything. Like, I'm not going to be one of those people like, oh, he landed 2 calf kicks that didn't even land properly. It wasn't really any proper actions, right? Basically just got overwhelmed, like really overwhelmed throughout that entire matchup. Ulberg just walked him. Ulberg spent the entire Ulberg spent the entire first round, just pressuring him, walking him down, cutting the ring off more and more, getting his timing, getting his distance, and then just taking his lights out. He made it look so easy. He basically got no resistance. Reyes just got steamrolled and overwhelmed. Reyes, I'm not going to be one of those people who be like, oh, his chin's iced. He got cracked, and he got cracked with excellent placement. So he went out. Like, he's not a machine, he's not a robot, and he's not Diego Lopez, because I don't know what his chin is made out of. So it's like, he's not just out here eating bombs that should put you out, but he got hit with like well-placed shots. It took him out. There was nothing he could do because he didn't even see it by the time it landed. It was too fast, too well-timed, and Reyes was just too intimidated to actually do anything with it. It's unfortunate, but he got cooked. As I said, I genuinely believe the level of competition they face is completely different. I think that as much as love Reyes' story. I think the fact that people got overwhelmed and disillusioned just by the fact that Reyes was on a win streak and didn't give proper credence to the level of caliber of opponents. When Reyes fought Jan, I would even argue a much better version of Reyes fought Jan, he got slaughtered. When Ulberg fought Jan, we argue that Jan got robbed. Like, it's genuinely still pretty fair and debatable to say that Ulberg fairly won that fight. It just feels like he got robbed, in my opinion, on the initial watch. But when you look at it, that was a very competitive match, and Ulberg made Jan fight his game. Reyes got dominated. It was legit like fresh meat out to a wild beast. So they aren't even in the same stratosphere as far as the one of the few common opponents they had. You saw a difference in class. I don't see Reyes doing well against any of the other contenders. I see Yuri eating Reyes alive again, especially with how flat his footwork looked against Ulberg. I see Yuri eating Reyes alive again. I see um I see Reyes getting done dirty by Khalil. I think Roundtree would kind of just overwhelm him in some of the worst way. The Roundtree is fairly durable, and the counter pull that Reyes loves and over relies on wouldn't be as effective against an opponent like him. I don't see Reyes able to to do anything against Pereira or Ankalaev. I see them both literally just overwhelming him and getting him out of there. I don't see Reyes able to do anything with Rockkick, to be honest, who I would see probably be his best matchup due to his inactivity and just stylistic preference to kind of play that outside game at times, but still see Rockkick also getting him out of there. And I even see Jamal Hill, who a lot of people like to joke and clown on. I see Jamal Hill finishing Reyes within the first two, probably the first one, especially after this. And I think Jamal Hill has some of the flatter footwork. I think I think that would actually be the best fight to issue next. I think Hill versus Reyes would be a great fight next. I think that should be the next fight, but I really just see Hill also just overwhelming him with the boxing, kind of just getting in with him, kind of pressuring him, cutting off the cage, catching him at the right time, being faster than him, getting him before his counter can land properly, and just kind of getting him out. So like I don't really, I it was great to see Reyes make this second attempt at the belt and second attempt at the run, but I just can't see in the current light heavyweight division. I don't see anybody currently available that would be uh realistically winnable, or more accurately, a realistically favorable matchup for Reyes. I don't see anybody from anyone who can generally be considered in the top 7 to top 10. Honestly, like that top 7, that top 7 seems like a steel door as far as Reyes' style is concerned right now. And then even like we were talking about earlier, when you have contenders, well, all the potential contenders coming up, and even the potential heavyweights that might cut weight down, you never know. I just I don't see a future for Reyes as a title contender and or challenger in the near future. As just a fun fight and just as a fun contender and a fun member of the division, absolutely, always. But as a legitimate potential contender, unfortunately, I think that ship has sailed. So, but you never be surprised. He surprised us before. You can always hope for the best. And wish him the best of luck and speedy recovery to him. But that was it, guys. That was my reaction breakdown to UFC Fight Night Perth, Ulberg versus Reyes. Let me know what y'all think, your thoughts, opinions. I'll see y'all next time. Peace.